Good afternoon and welcome to Memory Card. Today I want to talk about the Sega Mega Drive. So I got my Sega Mega Drive one Christmas, unpackaged it, and it was in this blue plastic box. Inside the box was the Mega Drive, a couple of controllers and a bunch of games. Games that I wouldn't have usually have picked. Games like a flying game called G-Lock, where you flew a fighter jet and blasted their fighter jets and enemy outposts in a desert. I'm guessing it's meant to be a desert. Looked more like someone had cut up a pair of corduroys and then another pair of corduroys and another pair and just stretched them out and stuffed some Monopoly houses on top. It just kind of went on and on and on like a lot of old games did, increasing in difficulty, but it never seemed to end. Missions would just go on and on. It was rather tedious, but it's what I had to play. I had nothing really else I could say at the time, apart from a bunch of other games that were in this box that I'm feeling now used to belong to someone's dad. Because the other games were a helicopter game, similar idea, only there were buildings and you had to dodge the buildings. I wasn't particularly good at it. It wasn't particularly fun. It was one of these games where I just think, nah, played it a while back when I dug out my Mega Drive and it just didn't really appeal to me. The other games that came in the box were two PGA Tour games, 1 and 2. Which looked like they were basically just ported from a PC game. And it was kind of blatantly obvious they were PC games. They were meant to be PC games. The menu along the top, it looked like it had been lifted off Microsoft. And maybe, let's say Word 95. Or even worse, Word NT. Kind of era. And it just kind of, you think, this is really dull. It's maybe been recolored, but it had like file and names like file. File? This is a video game. What file? We don't have memory cards. What the heck's going on? And you had to move this little cursor around. The background looked like a screensaver, a really boring one. A bunch of guys in a golf shop. How boring is that? This game also had the weirdest kind of fail at out of bounds. So out of bounds is when you go out of the, well, as it suggests, out of bounds, out of the confines of the course. But this didn't have that. It had the hole was programmed, so like the bunkers and the trees. But if you hit away from that, you went to this dark green. And you could keep going and going and going. There was no out of bounds. You could actually play round the hole and then hit the club. There was no terrain, so you could just hit the ball out there, hit it unhindered, and then hit it back onto the course and into the hole. It was kind of a strange thing to see, all this unprogrammed space. It really did look like it had been ported and ported badly. They'd had to rip out a lot of stuff, I'm guessing. Just really kind of cheap looking. Number 2 was kind of the same. Being as it's PGA Tour, and I think being as it was made by EA, or at the time they were just called Electronic Arts. And it just, I think they're an American company, so a lot of the courses were American. Just wasn't particularly well made. It's just, the courses, like I said, out of bounds was just not really out of bounds. It was just there, unprogrammed space that you could somehow land in. There weren't many golfers either. Most of folk that I'd never heard of before at that time. And it was something I could play against my dad at. But really, it was just, that's what it served as. I could say to my dad, hey dad, do you want to have a game of golf? which is something not a lot of kids my age would say to their dads. Hey, Dad, do you want to go and play golf? Um, but yeah, that was one of the only things he would play on the Mega Drive with me, which was a bit, I suppose you could say sad, but it was fine. There was another game, I think that was in the box. Spot Goes to Hollywood. Again, never really understood this one. From what I've gathered from some research, I say research, watching other people review videos and review games. And it was, strangely enough, the 7-Up mascot. That little red dot that appears behind 7-Up. They turned it into a mascot called Spot. And then they sent him to Hollywood. The jumping controls in this were horrendous. They were dreadful. It was just... The perspective was really finicky, trying to judge. And it had planes as well. You had up and down. You had an x-axis, a y-axis, you had z. What the heck was this? So you're trying to judge whether you were walking under something or trying to jump onto something. It was really weird, the perspective of this. It was kind of 2.5D. Weird. I say they'd gone to Hollywood, but one of the levels was a sunken ship, or ship of some description. Don't know where that came from. Pirate ship, because that was well-known movie that Hollywood had pooped out this movie about a pirate ship, nondescript pirate ship. It was pretty boring. It wasn't much fun. It was frustrating. I played it occasionally, didn't really enjoy it. There was the Menacer. The Menacer, if you don't know, is this bazooka light gun thing that just ate batteries. And it came with this box, this, I'm guessing, a sensor box. And the sensor box sits on your TV. Back then in the 90s, TVs were square. Big square things where the screen was, and then you had the big tube out the back. So you had something, unless it was kind of slanted at the top. But more often than not, you had a TV that was flat and you could put the sensor on the top. The annoying thing about this game was peripheral, was that it was massive. This thing was huge. It was about this size. And it had an arm stock, like a rifle, and it had viewfinders. And it came with this game where you had a shooting gallery, but you didn't shoot bullets. You threw tomatoes, because tomatoes are less violent than bullets. I mean, paintball? Anyone? No, let's not have paintball, let's have tomatoes. So that's what you did, you shot tomatoes. The annoying thing about this was my room is quite small. And this game had a range, kind of like a minimum range for which it would start to work and would be effective over. And my room was only just, like, if I sat right at the back of my room, it was only just big enough. And even then I had to kind of take, because the thing was so frigging huge, I had to take the stock thing off at the back. I don't think many bazookas have two viewfinders. I just don't think they do. But this one did. But you could take them off and you could have just the one. They worked a couple of games. It was weird. I kind of had to put it in my lounge if I wanted to play it. I didn't really see the point having to uproot my whole console and put it in the lounge just to play this one poxy game. So that kind of game went by the wayside. Later on, though, I did buy some other games, thankfully, and they were FIFA 96, again an EA game with the weird yellow thing on the side. I also bought Mortal Kombat, which was great fun. I really enjoyed that. There was a store near where I lived which you went into, and I think it was a second-hand store, and it was just had row upon row upon row of Mega Drive games. It was just Mega Drive for days, and some Master System games. And it was a treasure trove because they were all secondhand. We didn't have we had Game back then, so we didn't really get a chance to have new games. You had to go to Toys R Us, so it meant you had to kind of, if you wanted a new game from Toys R Us, you had to pester your parents to take you to Toys R Us. But this shop, it was in town, and it meant that when I got old enough to actually go out on the bus into town with my friends, or maybe by myself, that I could go up and visit that shop myself. And there were some brilliant gems in there. They had Mortal Kombat, which is what I really wanted. My friend gave me this whole book. It was kind of an old book. I don't know where he found it, but he lent me it. Pages were falling out, and it told you how to do all the moves. So that was just, it was great, because back then you could turn the blood off as well. So it was just a beat 'em up. It was just the joy of playing as Sub-Zero and Scorpion. That was really, really, really good fun. And that was kind of where it kind of tailed off, really. I think Mortal Kombat was one of the last games I got. I did borrow some games. I borrowed this, I think it was a Terminator game. It's Terminator Tournament Fighter. Why you're a Terminator Tournament Fighter, I don't know. Where you could play as the Terminator, or a Terminator, kind of like not Arnie, but one of the other ones, and you beat up these other robots that I don't recall were ever in any of the Terminator movies, but they needed characters for you to beat up. I also played the infamous Batman game. I think it was by Acclaim, which was a total mess. It was made by the same people that made Mortal Kombat, so it was basically Batman cross Mortal Kombat, just what you really want. A la Streets of Rage. So you're walking along a level, beating up guys, throwing batarangs, but it's infamous because of how dreadful the controls were. Right, there was a point where you had to go up through this ceiling, and you're pressing all the buttons, don't know what to do, pressing button combinations. There's only 3 buttons on the front of this blooming thing. A, B, and C. The D-pad starts, like, no one thinks to press start, so like, starts for pause, select as whatever. But that's what it was. For the grappling, you had to press select. You had to press select in this pixel perfect bit. It was just a total mess. The foreground as well would get in the way. So there were pillars. So you would be here, there'd be a pillar. Instead of you kind of going in front of the pillar, because the pillar was in the background, you didn't. The pillar was in the foreground, so you went behind the pillar. And so could bad guys go behind the pillar. And like, there's nothing here, I'm being hit. Because you've gone past a pillar, but there's another pillar. There was a boss or a guy behind it, so you'd take a hit. Because you didn't know what was behind the pillar. It was just such bad design. And Batman would be doing this, and the guys walked like, I don't know what their walk cycle was going on. I don't know what was going on with their walk cycle. It was kind of, yo, 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 I'm kind of doing this kind of thing, kind of leaning back, and some of them had these poles. I don't know why. So they're kind of going like this with their pole, and Batman's leaning forward like this. And it's like, this game is horrible. I don't know why they made it. Cashing on a movie, it was pants. Don't play it, it's dreadful. The music was horrendous, the sound effects were appalling. It was probably one of the worst Batman games ever made, and that's saying much about it. But what I really, really did enjoy, Sonic and Knuckles. And other Sonic games, putting other Sonic games on the top of Sonic and Knuckles, and you could play those games with Sonic and with Knuckles, and you had Tails. So it added to the whole fun of those games. So all in all, it was fond memories I had of this console. I really enjoyed owning it. So just a little bit about what happened to it, and that was that it aged. I had it in a box. I tried to preserve it, but it aged and it stopped working. And technology defeated me because TVs nowadays don't have analog tuners in them anymore. Especially the one in my room, I started buying my own TVs. And because we were moving in the UK to digital broadcasts, we no longer had analog tuners on our TVs. I had one in my lounge. Trying to tune it in was a pain. Games weren't working properly. The thing wouldn't boot up properly. I later found out there was a Model 2, as was with the Master System, and I believe the Model 2 had an AV cable rather than an aerial cable, which I kind of wish I'd had one of them. But I think that came quite a bit later on in the life cycle of the Mega Drive. So if I ever bought a Mega Drive again, I would look for one of them, because it means then you could just plug it into the back of your TV or the side of your TV, because a lot of TVs still have the red, yellow, white, or combinations thereof ports for plugging in cameras, etc. And you could plug it into that and just select the input on your telly, and away you go. You're not having to tune the blooming thing. Sadly, it just stopped working properly, and it ended up in the bin, along with the games. The games, some of them just didn't work out right, some of them bugged, some of them just didn't play at all. It was a bit of a shame, really. I really enjoyed playing that console. Sadly, it's gone now. I had to throw it away because it stopped working, and I just couldn't play it. Buying a conversion box at least the point. Trying to get games for it now is also a pain as well. Mercifully though, we have the Mega Drive collection on PS4, which is 50 great games plus in emulation. And the great thing about it is that you could stretch them to full screen. So it means you could play Streets of Rage, Golden Axe on a 40-inch TV without having to play in 4:3. So that's kind of where I've come up to with the Mega Drive. It's crazy, really. That game has 50 plus games, 52, and it only covers the size of, I don't know, a really small movie file. It's like 2 gig. Whereas games these days are usually sprawling, massive 50, 60 gig minimum. This is 2. But yeah, that's what happened to my Mega Drive. That's where I am with Mega Drive at the moment. And that's kind of all I have to say about it. If you had a Mega Drive stroke Genesis, let me know in the comments below. Just put down what your memories were. It'd be good to share them with other folk out there in the comment section. Bye for now.